Okay, so I am excited today to have Clarence Chan, who has been a lifelong Stocktonian and has been representing clients for 25 years. And he primarily focuses in estate planning, real estate and business litigation, and personal injury. And I've had the pleasure of working with Clarence on numerous probate transactions that unfortunately the estate holders did not have their estates planned out. So today, Clarence is going to give us an overview of the estate planning fundamentals, which I think so many people are not accustomed to and do not have the education. Clarence, I appreciate your time today, and I'm going to hand it over to you so you can tell us what you have to say today.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Sandy. It's good to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation. I enjoy working with you. As Sandy says, I am an attorney here in Stockton. I've been practicing for 25 years, and one of these days I will get it right. But until then, we're just going to keep working at it. So estate planning is pretty straightforward. If you do nothing, the state of California has already decided what it's going to do for you. There's already a plan called probate that takes care of your assets, your money, your houses, your stocks, your bank accounts, if you decide to do nothing. And it also, and the state has also decided who will get all of your stuff if you decide to do nothing. And for a very small number of people, doing nothing works just fine. But it's a very small number if you don't want any control and you want to pay a lot of attorney's fees. And that probate process, we go through it, and Sandy and I have done it multiple times, and it's not the best because of multiple reasons. First, it's expensive. We're talking for a regular house in Stockton. I think, how much is a house in Stockton now, Sandy, an average price?
Like $450.
So $450, your attorney's fees are going to be $11,000 to $12,000 to get through that probate. On top of that, you'll have the same amount for the executor or the administrator. Not only that, but then all your stuff will go to whoever the state tells you it should go to, whether it's your children, whether it's your spouse or your parents or your brothers and sisters, whether you like it or not. Okay, you may be estranged from your children, and yet they're going to get all your stuff. Third, there's the issue of privacy. All your stuff is just open to the world to look at. And because of technology now, San Joaquin County has put all its documents online for anyone to look at. It's always been like that. Anyone could always go down to the courthouse and look at your stuff. But now it's even easier. You don't even need to drive downtown and park. You can do it from the comfort of your own computer and look at what people have. And people do that. People like me. I look up stuff, and sometimes it helps with other cases. Sometimes it's just helpful to know. So what's the alternative? The alternative is actually planning. And so what I have done concurrently with my probate practice is practice estate planning. And that's just where a couple or a single person will come see me and talk about what's important to them. What are their priorities in terms of their stuff? What kind of legacy do they want to leave? If they are someone of faith, then how do they take care of their church or their temple? If they're a person who is charitable, how do they take care of a charity like the American Red Cross or the Lung Association or something like that? And how to not let the money use you, but for you to actually control your own money and your assets, and definitely not let the state of California do it for you. So that's the basics of what we do. I'll just get right to it. On the estate planning, people ask all the time, well, what's your fee? So we're not just talking about me today. but all I know is me. So what I charge is a flat fee for a single person of $2,100 and $2,500 for a married couple. I encourage your clients to shop around. If you have a very simple estate, there are less expensive plans. Perhaps they don't have as much hand holding or as much advice giving, but that may work for people. And if you have, a super large estate over $25 million, then maybe Clarence Chan isn't the right person for you either. And there are attorneys out there who have that special skill, especially dealing with estate taxes. And that's a whole nother issue I won't even get into today. So money is one thing that we talked about with the estate. Do you have any questions, Sandi, before I move on?
I do. When you do an estate planning, Clarence, when you do that, what does that entail? It's not only just your house, but it's also your health and maybe a power of attorney.
That's perfect. I was just going to go there. Yeah.
Okay,
so
perfect.
In addition to creating a trust, which is a document that dictates how you want your assets to be distributed, we also prepare what's called a healthcare directive for you. And so money is one thing, but I really tell people that your health and how you want your health to be managed is just as important, if not more important.
Mhm.
And so if you have a person that you highly trust, and that most of the time it's your spouse, but for some other people it isn't. And if you're a widowed person, then you may have multiple children, some of whom may be better able to help with your health issues than others. And so you don't want to just leave that to chance, and you want to put that down on paper, give that document to your doctors, and so they know who to call, and give it to that child or that friend so that they know that they're making decisions, healthcare decisions for you, but also so that your wishes can be effectuated. So for example, some people would like to be on life-saving or life-prolonging machines. Some people would not. Some people would like blood transfusions and some would not. And so those are all important things that I think clients should think about, discuss, and then tell their trusted person, so that these things aren't left to chance and left to guesses. Like, oh, wait, did dad want surgery or not? We never talked about it. Now, so what that also does is puts a lot of pressure on the children who are left behind, trying to guess what mom and dad wanted. It's better if you actually have that discussion, make that decision, so all that your children are doing are implementing your decisions, so there isn't any family disharmony later amongst the children. I've seen that before. I've seen that quite a few times where, the oldest daughter is in charge. She doesn't know what to do. She wants to pull the plug because that's what the doctor recommends, but the other siblings are saying, don't do it. And now there's a conflict, and it just leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So that's the healthcare part. What Sandi mentioned also was something called a power of attorney. And so that, again, is a document that where you appoint a trusted person to take care of your assets while you are living, but unable to make decisions. So for that limited time, whether you're in a home, you're in a coma, or you're in the middle of surgery, I'll just be honest, and maybe you have dementia, all right, but you haven't passed away. Well, someone needs to pay your bills. Someone needs to take care of your rentals. Someone needs to sell your stocks, talk to Medicare, all those decisions. And unfortunately, some of my clients have found out without that piece of paper, Medicare or the bank or Sandi Miller can't talk to you. She can't sell your house because you're not the person. And so that piece of paper, that document is pretty important. There are different variations, different flavors of that document. You know, some are effective immediately, some require a doctor's note to be attached. They're called springing, and you can revoke those and not revoke them. Anyways, there's a lot of different flavors. Again, that requires some discussion and a level of trust. And so, yeah.
I do have one question on that, because we're talking elderly people mostly, but what happens if there was a young couple, they have a house, maybe a rental, or maybe just a house, and unfortunately somebody gets in a car accident and they become incapacitated? Would that spouse that is not incapacitated, but actually taking on the duties of the whole household, would they be able to do anything with their house without having a power of attorney if they needed to sell or any of that? Is that just, I mean, I know you can't go into too many details, but.
No, that's a great example. And I'm going to touch on some other things that are brought up by your example. But answering your specific question, Sandi, first, and that is that spouse can't do anything. Right. So for example, if the house is owned by husband and wife and the husband is in a coma, that wife, you know, for whatever reason, let's say needs to sell the house and move it closer to parents or some family that can help. Well, she can't sell the house because the husband can't sign. And so now you got to go to court. And that not only is expensive, but it's time consuming. And you may not be successful. You may not be so it's very important to get some of these papers drafted beforehand, because once you're in the hospital in a coma, my hands are tied and we need to go get court supervision.
I actually had that happen this year, and that's why I bring that up, because they weren't like older, you know, like in dementia stages and things like that. He fortunately got well enough to do a power of attorney, and he was able to actually sign afterwards. But I think sometimes some realtors may not know that you need both parties to sign. You could put a house up for sale, but you cannot close a transaction without both parties signing. So you put a lot of stress on a lot of different people if you're not aware. Because I told her, she said, Sandi, I just want to sell my house. I said, unfortunately, I can't sell it in his state, because I mean, I can put it on the market, but we can't close the transaction.
Yeah, and title will tell you, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't get caught till the end, and now you're in contract, and you're rushing and scrambling to try to fix this, and there may not be a quick fix. There may not be something that you can do right away. So
and I think that's one of the big things that I think for younger folks. I mean, I'm focusing more on older people, because that's where most people, if they haven't been educated on this process, they don't know. But even younger people, you know, I had a family member that got T-boned, and he wasn't coherent there for a while. Fortunately, he made it out of it, but we just never know what's going to happen.
You never know. And that's the second part I wanted to touch on from your example, Sandi. And I'm going to switch it up a little bit, where not just a husband is in a coma, but maybe husband and wife are both passed away. Now you've got young children, let's say 10 years old, 5 years old. Who do they live with? And everyone, you would think, okay, well, they'll just go with my parents. Well, you know, there's two sets of grandparents. And so now you've just started you potentially have started a fight, right? The two
Which
sets
the kids are in the middle of it.
Yeah, and the kids are in the middle of it, and one set of grandparents and a second set of grandparents, and it's best. And sometimes they're older, right? Some grandparents can handle young kids, some grandparents can't. Rather than leave it up to chance, you know, have that discussion, put it into writing. And that's part of what we do as estate planners, is work with couples, whether they're older or younger, to take care of some of those issues. And that guardianship issue is so important. Again, I'm going to go back, because many of our clients are people of faith, and they want their children to be raised in the same religion. But if you don't write it down, the law takes over, and you may lose control of that very important factor in the raising of your children. And that is very unfortunate.
Yeah, very important to know. Very important to know. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I appreciate that.
So yeah, and that's that's the basics. I encourage everyone to talk to your friends. You know, getting an estate plan is very similar to getting a new roof. You don't need one every 5 years. You need one every, but it's important that you get it before the rain comes.
Right.
And you get it done. And the best way, just like with roofing, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, find a trusted attorney. Some people are fine just going online and doing it themselves. I don't recommend it. In fact, I'm working on one right now where someone thought they did their will right. It wasn't done right, and it almost messed everything up. I mean, I was able to fix it, but once the person has deceased, it's very difficult to fix.
The first thing I learned in real estate is a dead man cannot transfer property.
That's a good lesson.
Right. So unfortunately, because they can't sign. So that's very important. And you did mention will, because we are actually working with somebody right now that had a will intact, and they thought they had their house covered. And where are we at with them? We're in probate.
You're in probate, and a will doesn't get you out of probate. The trust document is the document that gets you out of probate. As part of the estate plan, I use wills as what are called backups. The term is pour over. The wills work in conjunction with the trust, but the will doesn't avoid probate. Now, alone. And so the will is, so looking at the hierarchy, you could do nothing, which is fine. Some people really want to do nothing for a number of reasons, and that's okay. The one next after that is will. So at least your house doesn't go to all 10 of your children. You just want to pick the one child that gets the house, then you can put that in a will, but you're still going to have to go through probate. A much better plan is to do a trust, and that will avoid probate, minimize the fights. I don't want to say avoid, but minimize the fights,
right?
And make things go a lot smoother in the end. And so as we conclude this, here's the one thing I tell all my clients, and this applies kind of probably to life too, right? The more you trust somebody, and I use a little word trust, not documents, but the more you trust somebody, the more flexibility I have and you have to help yourself. Yes. Okay. And so picking that trusted person, whether it's your spouse or your adult children or someone from your church to assist you, will allow me to write a trust that takes advantage of certain tax benefits, take advantage of selling the house or selling the stocks in an advantageous way, and minimize family fighting and family discord. So
yes, totally agree. Well, Clarence, I thank you so much, because I think this is one of the areas that people do not, at least what I deal with on the real estate side. Some people are like, no, I just talked with somebody the other day and they're like, well, I just want the house. I've lived here with my dad, but they had 2 other siblings. They didn't understand that, unfortunately, you just don't get the house unless your dad made that possible with a trust.
That's right.
You have to share that with your siblings, and especially if there's a minor, that adds a whole nother complicated version to it. So
yeah, there's so many different things that can come into play, unless you know all the different laws. I know we're supposed to end, but let me say this. Some people say, hey, before I die, I'm just going to sign my house over to my child.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
And that's okay. Again, that is a common strategy for some people. But, and I don't have time to explain it, Google capital gains. And so what you don't get when you just sign your house over to your child before you die is that they don't get what's called a step up in basis.
Right.
And they're going to have to pay a lot more in capital gains taxes. In fact, I will promise you that they will pay more in capital gains taxes than it costs for me to write that trust for you.
I agree.
So you're not saving money, and and you're going to increase, and you might increase your property taxes. So multiple tax increases, property tax as well as capital gains tax with the IRS.
And possible more liability to your own estate, because if that child you put on and they get into some trouble, they're going to come after the house.
Absolutely. Before you pass away.
Yes.
Before you pass away,
Yeah.
if they get in trouble, you could lose your home, and that's not what you want. So.
No. Well, I thank you so much, Clarence. And Clarence is his office is at 3247 West March Lane, suite number 120 in Stockton and 95219. His office phone number is 209-473-8818. And he is just a gem to work with. And I appreciate your time today. And I'm going to share this with my whole database so they could get a little bit of snippet of the estate planning and why it's so important. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy, for inviting me and giving me a chance to, talk about this important thing. I think that's underappreciated. So
I do too. I do. Thank you so much, Clarence, and you have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.